Hi everybody, Robert Chesson here, Landlord Law Firm, with your October edition of the Landlord Advocate Live, our video newsletter. Wanted to elaborate this week a little bit on the quick tip that's being produced for the newsletter, and that's about fines and various charges to your tenants consolidated in your lease. As the quick tip talks about, those fines and charges are defined specifically by your lease, so the question of whether or not you can charge those is found in your lease. What I want to talk to you about today, though, is the issue of whether or not you want to impose fines. One of the things that Connecticut courts try to determine is whether or not somebody's lease violation can be fixed, whether or not there's a remedy that will solve the problem that the landlord is complaining about. Well, several years ago, in fact at this point it's probably been closer to 10 years ago, we were fortunate enough to be involved in a pretty big appeal in Connecticut where we made some really good law about what can and can't be fixed. And what the court finally agreed to was what the statute says, and that is the tenant's only allowed to fix those things which can be paid for or repaired. And so things like a broken glass, a broken window. If somebody breaks a window and they repair it, that's a fix. Or if they pay for it being repaired, that might be considered a fix. Gets a little more gray in areas where you're talking about lease violations where there's no payment or a fix that would otherwise solve the problem. And that is where the issue of fines comes into play. Because what some courts like to do is they take the language about a fix or payment and they take the fine schedule that some clients have developed and turn that into the solution to the problem. And so if you've got a resident who's causing some serious issues on the property, but the issues they're causing are somehow enumerated into a fine schedule, a court might prevent your ability to actually evict someone if you wanted to, because they're going to determine that you've already told the tenant in that schedule, here's what it costs you to fix this problem. And so, in general, we like to advise clients that if you're going to go down the path of fines, be very, very careful, because you might very inadvertently eliminate your ability to pursue some other remedy, such as an eviction, by simply creating that schedule of fines that a court determines is the way you do business. Now, where it gets really dicey is where you've got a schedule of fines and say the fine for not curbing your dog is $25, and the fine for mishandling your garbage is $35. And I'm making that up, but let's assume that you've got a few things that you've scheduled with fines, but now the conditions that the tenant is causing are much more serious than those. A court might say, well, since you're just asking for a fine to be paid on all these other items, we're going to impose a fine and let the tenant pay that and prevent you from doing anything like an eviction or taking any more drastic measures or imposing other legal remedies. So, fines, we talk about those in the quick tip. In this segment, we talked a little bit about whether or not you want to do and use fines as a basis for solving lease violations and the conduct of your tenants that's bothersome. If you got questions about that, feel free to reach out to us or reach out to your landlord attorney and discuss what imposing fines through your lease might really mean, so that if that's the path you want to go down, you're at least you go in with your eyes wide open about what it does in terms of limiting your other legal rights as a landlord. Thanks so much for your attention. It's been my pleasure for handling the October edition of Landlord Advocate. Look forward to seeing you guys next month. A brief announcement: there will be a surprise broadcast between now and the Connecticut Apartment Association Trade Show, which is November 13th. That's associated with our plans at the trade show this year. We look forward to seeing you guys there, and watch for our surprise broadcast. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.